The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Hello, beloved souls. Welcome to our channel. I'm Betty Ray, bringing you Archangel Raphael to answer your questions and to inspire and uplift you. This is kind of a time of ups and downs for everyone, it seems like. We've been through a lot politically, and that seems to be settling down, but we've had the coronavirus that has certainly upset the entire world. And so, but things are beginning to get under control with that as well. And so it is with great peace we send to you, Raphael and I. And today we'd like to talk about how to awaken your intuition, how to awaken those inner senses of sight and sound, and know that you do have more information available to you through your angels and guides. But today, we're going to talk about how to awaken those inner senses. And so if you have pencil and paper handy, it might be well to do that with some of the questions we're going to give to you. But if you're walking, like many of my guests do say, they're walking while they listen to me, then that may not be possible, but use your imagination anyway, because that's what we're talking about. So we always start out when you want to get to what we call the alpha brainwave level. Being a teacher, I studied how the brain functions. And in order to be able to gather new information, you have to lower the brain waves. The brain waves are constantly moving. And when you're in your awakeful mind, they're moving the fastest. And then when you begin to slow down, to rest and go to sleep, those brain waves begin to slow down too. So to get to a meditative state, you have to almost be like going to sleep, because it's at the sleep state that you are in a meditation. They call this the alpha brainwave. And so today, no matter what you're doing, we can help you get to that brainwave and help you to stay awake. And so know that there are several stages of sleep, and brain research has shown that the brain slows down from the beta mind and goes to the alpha when you fall asleep. So what we're going to try to do today is get you to the alpha dream state without having you fall asleep. So we're going to ask you first to take a deep, slow breath. Now, your shoulders should not move. We stress that so many times, but your shoulders do not move when you take a deep breath. So put your hands on your shoulders and take a breath that goes down to your belly button. Ready? Go. Good. And then as you exhale, tighten your gut and let the air all out. And then take another deep breath and unfold your stomach. Let it expand again. Here we go. And then relax again. And while you are doing that kind of breathing, make sure that your body is relaxed as you can get, which is important. That if you're walking, I don't think you can do this completely, but you can get part of it anyway. And so, but if you can, do this meditation while you're sitting down. Now, the object is to get you to the alpha state of mind, which is like a dream state, without falling asleep. That's why if you sit in a comfortable chair that's too comfortable, you might fall asleep. So if you can sit in a chair with your feet flat on the floor, you're going to be much better off. But there's 3 steps to getting to a deep meditation that will awaken your intuition. The first step is relaxation of the body. If you are uptight, if your shoulders are tense, then just relax your shoulders. If you are tense in your gut, then try to relax your stomach and let it hang out. If you are tense in your back, then breathe deeply into that. If you have any kind of discomfort or pain, try to breathe through the pain, and you will be able to relax the mind. Now, let's take a visualization. Let's pretend that you are now breathing deeply and going to your inner sanctuary. If we haven't created one in the past, let's do it now. You have the kingdom of heaven within you that Jesus spoke of. We've mentioned this many times before. He said, unless you become as little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. And the apostles were pretty puzzled. How can they become a child again? He says, we can't crawl back in our mother's womb. How do we do that? We do that by letting go of our preconceived ideas about anything spiritual, by simply letting go and opening our minds to new ideas, and by taking a deep breath and allowing your angel guides to help you and calling upon them. And the next most important step is to use your imagination. This is where the little child comes in, that trusting child with a great imagination. Here's where we become as little children. And as we go deeply into our inner sanctuary, our inner senses begin to open up. So let's pretend you're in a flower garden and there are flowers all around you. What do you see? And if you have a pen and paper, write down the first thing that pops in your mind. Don't try to figure it out, because then you're in what we call the left hemisphere of the brain, which is the one that wants facts and figures. Nothing but the facts, ma'am. And if you're doing that, you're in the left hemisphere of your brain, which does not allow you to use your imagination. So you got to get out of that fact and figures and get into your playful, childlike imagination. And so now we're back in that garden. You have lawn all around you that has been neatly cut, and it is smelling beautiful. It's a perfect lawn, and you didn't have to do anything to make it happen. And you are sitting near a tree. Now, have that tree pretty clear in your mind. Is it an evergreen tree or is it a deciduous tree? And hi, Johnny. Thank you for joining us. Okay, I love it. Imagination. I can't think how she pronounces it. She says her daughter has always called this her imagination. Instead of imagination, she calls it magic. And it is. Thank you, Johnny, for that comment. And thank you for being with us. So now we're going to go into that deep idea of being in a place of beauty in nature. And there's this great big tree. Is it a deciduous tree, one with leaves? Or is it a tree that's an evergreen tree? Kind of imagine both of them if you can. A really tall Christmas tree that doesn't have any ornaments on it, it's just there. And a tree that would have leaves. And let's now pretend that the tree is in the fall and the leaves have turned and they are beautiful. Write down, if you do have pen and paper handy, but if not, just make note in your mind what color those leaves are if it were fall. And then imagine it in the wintertime. Let's imagine snow on the branches. Even here living in Florida, I can imagine it because I lived in Michigan for a long time. So imagine there's snow on the branches. And now imagine a cardinal, a beautiful red cardinal. Not his wife, who's kind of brown, but the man who is the red cardinal. And how beautiful it is against the white snow. Now you're awakening your imagination. And as soon as you begin to play with that, you've entered your kingdom of heaven. And this is where you can create your life the way you want it. You have no idea how powerful your imagination is until you learn to use it every single day. This is where creativity comes in for solving problems. A lot of people are great problem solvers, but don't think of themselves as creative. Well, you've got to be creative to come up with a solution to a problem that nobody else has been able to think about. And so if you're a good problem solver for other people, you likely have a great imagination, can stretch beyond the box. We say think out of the box. Well, that's what we're talking about. And when you can think out of the box, you can solve any single problem. Now, we can't we can't say that we can solve the problem of the coronavirus, for example, but we leave that to the people who have been inspired, as my son, to get a grant because he's a molecular genetic scientist to try to find a cure for the coronavirus. Now, I don't know if he was able to do that. There are many people that have. It's why we have many different virus vaccines now. It's because people use their imagination and they set to work knowing how to work with that kind of thing. And somebody said, well, how do you know what it is? How do you know? Well, you know because you have these huge microscopes that can look at the viruses and they can tell one virus from another, which is why they called it the coronavirus, because it had like like light around it. And it had the shape, the particular shape and the particular color. And nothing else looked exactly like it. Now, people have talked about it mutating. And that means that it changes shape and it mutes into something else. And they've been watching it. They've been making sure that they can see this and that the different vaccines that are coming out will take care of the mutations as well. So if you haven't been vaccinated, it's a personal thing. You decide if it is the right thing for you. And of course, if more people that are vaccinated, the less this virus can attack our country and the countries of the world and the people of the world. And so it really makes sense if we can avoid it at all. But if you aren't happy with getting a vaccine, then make sure you do wear that mask so that if you are a carrier, you're not spreading it to other people who haven't been able to get vaccinated. And so we caution you on your imagination now to, if you think it is proper, to ask your angels right now to show you a picture, if you've not been vaccinated, to show you a picture of yourself being vaccinated. I'm pausing. If you can see that, if you can picture that in your mind, then you need to make an appointment and go get the vaccine. But if you can't even see yourself going into the clinic, perhaps it's not for you to do. So the pictures in your mind are how your angels talk to you. If you can see yourself rolling up your sleeve like that and waiting for that little pinprick, because it doesn't really hurt, and then knowing that you are much better off to keep you from getting the virus. Now, that's only one way to imagine. You need to use that creative imagination to solve all kinds of problems. Have you ever needed a safety pin? My brothers used to call me Safety Pin Liz because rather than sew something, I would just take a pin and stick it together. Like my hem is falling apart, this is coming unraveled. Oh, stick a couple pins in it. I couldn't be bothered with sewing. And and so this was my characteristics, I guess you could say. I was very impatient. I wanted things done now. And a safety pin worked a lot faster than getting a needle and thread or a sewing machine out. And so whatever works, whatever works. And we always say that when you picture a job that needs to be done, if it makes you tired just to think about it, then you need to think about it in a different way. And that means that you can, I'm going to check something here just for a minute. Okay. That means that you can find a different way to solve a problem. If you're not comfortable with the way you have to solve the problem, think of a different way. And that means getting quiet, like we're doing right now. That means relaxing your body, letting your feet hang on the floor, relaxing the rest of your body and your shoulders, and then doing deep breathing. And as you do, imagine that you are entering the most beautiful place on earth that you would love to be at if you had all the money in the world and you could go there right now. It might be on a beach in Thailand. It might be, who knows, in a towering building in New York City. Wherever it is you can imagine. Did you see those places as we talked about it? A beautiful beach with palm trees. Can you see it in your mind's eye? Can you smell the salt water? Can you feel the sand beneath your feet? And as a contrast, can you imagine yourself on a tall building in a beautiful hotel in New York? And you're there, you're going to go to the theater, you're going to watch the Rockettes. I think they're still around. And you're going to take in some shows. Can you imagine yourself there? And if you had all the money in the world and you could go anywhere you wanted to go, can you imagine what would be your favorite spot? Johnny, where would you go? Where do you think your daughter would like to go? If you could go anywhere and it wasn't a virus problem anymore, you didn't have to wear a mask, you could just go, because you can do that in your imagination. And when you do that, your body feels as though it fools your body. It fools your emotions. If you can vividly picture yourself somewhere else in a warm sunshine, and you can picture yourself being happy, you will trick your emotions into getting happier. This is a study that has been done with dream research that have found that dreams do alter your life. When you have a nightmare, you wake up and you're not very comfortable. As I do remember a dream I had of a rat that was in my nightmare, but it was one of the most wise dreams I ever got, because the rat told me my fears were keeping me from being the creative person I could be, that I had to be brave enough to face my fears and not let them stop me from doing anything I imagined I wanted to do. And so when you awaken your imagination, you also awaken your intuition, your ability to have your inner sight working. That's imagination. You get a picture in your mind. That's your imagination, and that's your inner sight. That's what people call clairvoyance. It's a French word meaning clear sight. And when you awaken your clairvoyance, you will get pictures about people. You could meet somebody who's brand new, you've never seen them before, but suddenly in your mind, you have a picture, we'll say, of a woman who is pregnant, of somebody you know who's pregnant. And if you ask that person, are you perhaps pregnant? They will get wide-eyed and say, yes, how did you know? Well, a little bird told you, and it was your imagination. That's what intuition is all about. It's using that channel with your archangels and angels. They will flash a picture in your mind, and you will get information that could be visual. Or have you ever had a song pop in your mind? That's your angels talking to you through a song. Listen to the words. And I do remember one time I did have a picture of Sonny and Cher, and I could hear them singing and I could see them. And I went, okay, what's this about? And what I heard was have a happier disposition, a sunnier disposition, and share more. It was a play on words, but I had to have the visual of these two old time people in the media and to get the message. It was boom, just like that. I had that message and it made me laugh. Now, I just finished a project where I did a tarot tablecloth from embroidered tarot cards that were done. And I put it on a round tablecloth. And when I was sitting there with the tarot of the major arcana in a circle on these beautiful embroidered tarot cards, in the center, I saw a spinner. And I broke out laughing because here they were showing me, let's make a game of it. Let's take these tarot tablecloth that you have and put a spinner in the center and spin it around to let your angels and guides decide what card you need to look at and study that day. What fun that would be, don't you think? And so I've got my neighbor who's helping me figure out how to do that. And so we're going to play with it. There's the key word, everybody. Become as a little child again and play. Play with ideas and your playful imagination that gives you a giggle. That's what happened when I was seeing that in my mind's eye of putting the spinner in the middle of the tablecloth that was ringed with this round table, was ringed with all these beautiful tarot embroidered cards. And I could see it. And I thought, wouldn't that be fun? And so I'm now going to try and make it a reality. That's how everything is created. That's why it's all God in action, because God is the inspiration of ideas. That's the source of every idea that comes. And if you have bad ideas, that's because the source of the idea came from God, but it came through a cloud of darkness that is part of being on planet Earth. We're in a duality planet. We have sunshine and we have darkness. We have everything in opposites that can be imagined. And so if you are in darkness for a moment or two, the sunshine will come out sooner or later. And sometimes you just have to breathe through it. When you find that you are uptight in the chest, when you find your shoulders are tense, that's when you take that deep, relaxing breath and you say, okay, angels, I'm open to new ideas to solve this problem. And okay, Johnny made a comment. She says her daughter says she would go to Australia and I would go somewhere sunny with lots of gardens. Well, I hope you begin to create that in your mind and you tell your daughter to do that she can get some pictures of Australia and some maybe videos that she could look at so that when she goes into her inner sanctuary or her kingdom of heaven within her, she can be in Australia in a flash like that. And she can maybe have some, what do they call those kangaroos? they have a name for them, which kind of reminds me, I think it's something like your name, Johnny. I think we used to call you Joey. And I think that's what they call the kangaroos, something like that. Anyway, this is something that I imagine she enjoys watching the Down Under movies, as I remember watching. And Quigley Down Under, I think, was one of the movies that I watched that was a lot of fun. And so this is where the imagination comes. Where do all these movies come from? If they aren't from somebody's imagination, they get an idea. And a lot of the movies that are done are from people that have written scripts from their imagination. They get an idea and they start writing because they can visualize it. They can just see it. And so they start writing it. In fact, that's how I've written my 2 novels. And I'm working on the 3rd one, is I do it by scenes. In other words, I tell the story through conversation and through describing the scene because I am so visual. And by describing it, people say they feel like they're right there. And that's the objective, to make somebody live those words, bring them to life. And so let's go back again now. You're standing by a tree inside your Garden of Eden, your inner kingdom, your inner sanctuary. And that tree is, we said it was fall, and you described the color. And so let's let the leaves fall. And with a gusty wind, all of the leaves are blown away. And there you are in still green grass, but the tree is bare now. Now imagine that the winter has come and the tree is covered with snow. So here we are again, waiting for that cardinal to rest on the branch and to show its beautiful red colors against white. You can see it in your imagination, can't you? Even if you live in Florida, like I do now, I still remember my days in Michigan, and it was always beautiful when every single tiny branch had a wet snow packed to it, and everything turned into a winter wonderland. That's what it looks like. Only in your imagination, it's not wet and cold. It's just beautiful. You can go out in it. You can go sit in it, and it's not wet. It's just soft and fluffy. And so you've got this tree, and it's winter. Now, let's make it spring. These budding leaves are a vibrant yellow green, and they're bursting out all over in your tree. And as you see it, you can see those leaves unfold as they open up and become this gorgeous colored dark green. They started out a yellow green, and as they mature, they get darker. And that's the photosynthesis that's going on through them. And so here you are with this magnificent tree. Now let's create a bench to sit by that tree, a bench or a chair, whatever you can imagine. Got it? You're sitting under your tree now. Or I just had a flash of somebody sitting in a swing and swinging from their tree. Okay, Johnny just clarified something. She says, yes, she was Joey. And and I do remember that's what I called her. So she's Johnny now. And yes, she says she would go somewhere sunny with lots of gardens. Well, you just have to come visit me in Florida, Johnny, because I've got lots of gardens. I have a walking labyrinth for meditation, and I have a Native American medicine wheel for healing, and I have a creek in the back for the water that gives you inspiration. And so you have to come down to Florida to visit me. Okay, wonderful. You're welcome. I have an extra bedroom, so come visit me. And I wouldn't advise flying yet. If you can drive, great. A couple of days and one night maybe, and you could be here. And you're welcome to come. So now use your imagination and see yourself in Florida if you're in a Michigan area. And it's still chilly because it's not April yet. And even here in Florida, we've had a cold spell, but it's still it's in the 60s, and to us, that's cold. So imagine that you're in sunny Florida, that you're visiting Betty Ray, and that the beautiful trees, I have deciduous trees and palm trees and oak trees and just all kinds of trees in my backyard. And I have gardens everywhere, thanks to my next door neighbor he's a gardener, and he's been fixing up my yard and fixing my gardens until it is absolutely beautiful. And so if you'd like to come visit, sometimes she goes in there in her magic nation. I love it. And I'm glad to hear you do that, because if you could have seen the azalea bushes, I think I've talked about them. One was bursting with red flowers, another one white flowers, and a third one was fuchsia colored flowers. And they're huge bushes. They take up probably about 10 feet in circumference. And that's a big bush. And they have been giving me such joy. And so, yes, I'm so glad I'm in Florida because I can have flowers year round. And that's one of the things that drew me to here. Is I came down in January one time and I saw pansies growing, and I thought, oh my God, it's January and there's flowers growing here. And so that was my goal. When I finally retired from teaching, I was going to do that. But things don't always go the way you think they do. And that's okay too, because I'm here now and I'm loving every minute of it. So use your imagination, and this will create it. I remember a long time ago, I took a class called Sylva Method of Mind Control, SYLVA, Method of Mind Control. And its purpose was to teach you to get to your imagination and activate it. It was teaching you to open up your inner senses. And it was very intense, and it did the trick. And of course, I've always had an imagination, but I didn't know how to control it like this. That's what it meant, mind control, to learn how to actually visualize what you desire and make it happen. And so any project that I have that's creative, I use my imagination to work out all the kinks before I even start on it. And one of my latest projects right now is taking a piece of plywood, 4 feet by 8 feet, and having it cut in thirds. I'm going to create an outdoor angel. And so I have 3 angels. So I've cut the plywood into 3 pieces. And one angel is going to be painted red, who will represent the Archangel Michael. And I'm going to paint it red on both sides, but I'm going to give it a halo with mirrors, reflective mirrors. And I'm going to give it a pendant. And I bought some chains from a sewing store. And I'm going to give it a pendant that would represent the Archangel. So I don't have rubies, but I have glass globs in red. So I'm going to have a pendant from hanging from a chain. And of course, Michael has to have a sword. So somewhere or another, I got to figure out, I can maybe get a toy sword that I can put on it. Because you see, my imagination, it goes wild when I come up with an idea. So I bought 3 pieces of plywood. The second one is going to be the Archangel Uriel, and it's going to be painted yellow. I already have the paint. And this is the Archangel of intellect and of knowledge and wisdom. And so it's going to have a book. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to get a piece of wood that I'm going to paint to look like a book, and it'll hold a book in its hand. And then the third one is going to be Archangel Emmanuel, which is purple. And of course, you've got to have some kind of religious symbol. And so it's going to have an antique cross, a big one that's about a foot big. I have it out in my screen room because it's like an outdoor cross. And so the 3 archangels are going to, 2 of them will grace my house. The purple and the yellow will go on the back of my house. But Michael is going to guard the gate to the back gardens that take you back to the medicine wheel and back to the creek. And so they'll hang on the fence. Michael will hang on the fence. And so here are these pieces of wood that I will paint with quills and make sure that it's sealed well so it can be weathered. And then I will paint them with outdoor paint. And then first of all, I will use my jigsaw after I've drawn the design on the piece of plywood, and I will cut them out. Then I will make their halo I have some bronze mirrors. The halo will be of bronze mirrors, and then the face will be of just plain mirrors. And then the body will be the color, plus it will have some of these ornamentations and this chain around the neck with a pendant. Can you see it? I bet you can. And so it is so much fun to be able to create what you can see. So many things. If you've been on my webpage, which is Angel Betty Ray, ANDRAPHAEL, Angel Betty Ray and Raphael .com, you will see the rugs that have been created through my imagination and through the opportunity to go to Florida and learn how to hook rugs in the old-fashioned way using recycled material from clothing, 100% wool. And you'll see some of the rugs that have been created over the years. So when you open your imagination, there's nothing stopping you from getting that job you want, from creating that painting that you admired so much and you'd like to have something like it. And just about anything. It's your imagination opens up your intuition. And that in turn shows you how to create things. It gives you the inner sight to see it in your mind's eye completed and to figure out step by step how to get there. Then you also have clairaudience, which means clear hearing. And that's when you get a song on the radio and it fits exactly what you've been thinking. And you go, whoa, that must be a sign from God. And truly it is. So things like that will happen. And I have a friend that moved from Colorado and she absolutely missed it so much. She loved the weather there. It was dry, it was sunny. Even if it was snowing, it was still sunny. And so she missed it so much that she had to use her imagination to be back there while she was living in another state. And if you don't have an imagination, that's why depression can come in. Depression is when you let go of your joy, your joyful imagination, and you fall into this pit of darkness, and you can't climb out because that's all you can see is darkness. So you have to use your imagination. And if you've fallen into a pit right now, I'm sending a ladder down that pit for you. Can you see it? It's a nice sturdy ladder. And step by step, you're climbing out of it. I'm reaching down. I'm offering a hand. Here it is. I'm offering a hand to you, and I'm offering it to bring you out of that darkness. I've got a flashlight in this hand. Here's my flashlight, and I'm helping you up that ladder and out of depression. And use your imagination. Imagine that there's always your angel there to bring you out of darkness and into the light again. And it's only natural as a human being on a planet of polarities that you're going to experience darkness. You cannot escape it. You're going to have up days and you're going to have down days. It's a guaranteed situation. But if you have too many down days and you can't seem to pull yourself out of that pit, then you need to get help, professional help, be it a medical doctor or a mental doctor, because sometimes it can be a mental thing that just a certain kind of medication will help you to overcome the depths of depression. It seems to be the number one chronic disease other than the coronavirus is depression. And so, dear ones, use your imagination and climb out of that pit of darkness and allow your angels to embrace you and lift you up. Imagine that you are surrounded by angels. Their wings are covering you. They are protecting you, and nothing can harm you. Imagine it. These beautiful angels, they are loving you unconditionally. There's no judgment. Don't matter whatever you've done, God loves you, and that love is sent through the angels to you. They are a mental picture of a being of light that will take on a body and wings if that's how you see them. They don't need wings. They can be wherever they want to be in an instant because they're pure energy, they're pure spirit, they're an extension of God. And so when you want to imagine yourself somewhere peaceful, then you go to your inner sanctuary within you and you rest there. And so if you're back at your tree now, you have some kind of a resting place. And if it's a stone bench, I think maybe you want to rethink it. I think I might just put my recliner there because when I need to rest and use my imagination, I have a cozy recliner that I can just fall asleep in. It's comfortable. It isn't too cushiony. It's just wonderful. In fact, it's getting worn out, but I won't get rid of it. Imagine it in your inner sanctuary. And whatever your tree is like, imagine that you can have your favorite chair there and that you're surrounded by flowers. I can see, because it's springtime, I can see these purple flowers that I can't even think of the name of them. Who can help me out here? They look like grapes. They hang like this. Come on, what are they? I had it and it just slipped away. Okay, tulips, and I can see crocuses pushing their way up through snow in Michigan. And so whatever flowers you are familiar with, even if you can't remember the name, but you can see them, then see them in your garden, in your imagination, and you can always go there. And okay, I'm seeing hyacinth. Okay, that's one of the things, but it isn't. It's a spring flower. It's purple. What is it called? It's a spring flower. It's purple. It looks like grapes because it comes in bunches like in lilacs. There it is. I got it. Lilacs. You see, we don't have lilacs here in Florida, but I remember them in the springtime in Michigan. Absolutely gorgeous. And the smell is wonderful. So you know what I'm talking about now, right? Okay. And so that I would have in my inner sanctuary. I don't care where they are, where they grow. In my inner sanctuary, they can just be there, just like that. I can see them. And seeing them is believing them because that's what your inner senses do. Now, you can't create lilacs in Florida, but in your inner sanctuary, you can have any kind of flowers you want. Let's talk about water in there. Some people, like me, I have a little waterfall that catches the sunlight and creates rainbows. And it goes into this beautiful pond with clear water. You can see right down to the bottom. And it has beautiful shells at the bottom, and it has really pretty fish that swim around. And I always love a calm pond that is so clear. It's like crystal right to the bottom. And so that's where I have it, with a waterfall at one end. And I actually swim in it. I love to swim with the fish, and it reminds me of my time in Hawaii when I was able to swim in the gardens of under the water that are, so again, I can't think of the word. It has shells like. Anyway, my brain is in the inner world, and I can't think of the right thing. So reefs, coral reefs. There we go. And this is so sad because of the pollution of the waters. The coral reefs are dying, and instead of being these vivid colors, they become skeletons, and they're dying. And that's where we have to do something about climate change. You see how I can get off the subject very easily. But what do? I go to my inner sanctuary, and I imagine angels inspiring people to do something about the climate change. And guess what? It's happening. And that again goes back to my days back when I was doing the Silva method of mind control. My inner sanctuary was this dome colored house. I mean, this dome circle house. I had white carpeting, and it had just glass over the top so that I could see the sky at night as well as the sun during the day. And in the corner, it had a fireplace. And on both sides, it had bookshelves because I love books. I still love to read books. And it had white carpeting. And guess what? 20 years later, with my second husband, we created a library in the back of our house. And the living room where we were revamping it, we put in white carpeting. And it wasn't until it was all done that I realized this is what I had imagined my inner sanctuary. 20 years later, I literally created it. And you see, you don't have to expect you're going to be able to create your inner sanctuary, but it's there for you anytime you need to just duck under the canopy of darkness and see light. And that's what that inner sanctuary is all about. That's your kingdom of heaven within you. And so, dear friends, do use this method of imagination to take you to your inner sanctuary where you only can go. Don't bring anybody with you because they're going to bring their stuff with them, and you don't need anybody else's stuff. You want to have this sanctuary pure and only for you to be. You can use your imagination, and you can be helped by the angels to create whatever it is you desire to create. Now, I'm thinking about one of my clients who has MS. He can't change that. He's been suffering with it for many years. You can't have a sudden healing just because you have a good imagination. If that isn't for your highest and greatest good, your angels cannot do anything to change it. God knows what's for your highest and greatest good. And there's never anything that happens to you that is in any way, shape, or form a punishment. Don't ever let anybody try to tell you that God is punishing you, because that just isn't true. Whatever you are experiencing as a human being is something every human being has to experience. We cannot get through life without physical, mental, and emotional pain, all three. We're going to experience it because it's part of the job of being a sentient being in a human body, but we're still a magnificent soul energy that is God within us. So I set up my timer here so that I wouldn't go overtime this time, and I'm going to check in with my engineer, Rebel, and make sure that I stay. It's 12:44. I don't know how much more time I have. So if you do have comments or questions, please don't hesitate to email us at angelbettyray@gmail.com, and we will be more than happy to answer your questions. Our readings are free. We will open up our imagination and allow Raphael to send us visions that are for you. So don't hesitate to contact us at angelbettyray@gmail.com. And the angels that are yours will be there to speak to our angels and bring to you the knowledge that is just for you. So don't hesitate to give us a call. In fact, we have one woman who lives on the other side of the state. And when she found out that I actually do accept guests now and then, that she can actually come and visit me if I have an opening. Okay. Hey, William. Okay, there's my timer telling me that time is almost up. Good to see you, Bill. Dr. Kenner. Here is somebody that was a professor at Michigan, University of Michigan, and it is good to be with you. And so, do you have a question for us, Bill? Okay. Imagination is where God can whisper. Thank you. I like that. God's whispering to us all the time. And all we have to do is tune in. You know how when you tune in your radio and there's static in between? Well, 90% of our tuning in is static until we calm our minds, relax our bodies, take slow, deep breaths, and allow ourselves to enter our inner sanctuary, our kingdom of heaven within us, when we can open the imagination and imagine us in this private chamber of peace and holiness. When you can do that, you can be speaking to your angels directly and to God directly. And so don't hesitate to do that. And he says, remind listeners, imagination is where God can whisper. I'm repeating that. God can whisper to you through your imagination. Doesn't necessarily have to be words. You don't have to hear it with your ears. You hear it with your heart, with your imagination. Look out for pictures that may come. And especially if you've got something that you need to take care of and you're hesitating because you don't know exactly how to go about it, ask your angels to give you some ideas that they can give you in pictures. And you will know how to go about it then. And it will make you feel so good to know that you are receiving messages from the other side. But go to your inner sanctuary, make this the kingdom of heaven within you, and make it have everything you love about Mother Nature on planet Earth. In my inner sanctuary, there are no snakes, there are no bugs, no mosquitoes, even though God loves them too, not in my inner sanctuary. And so do create and do remember that this is where God can whisper answers to you. And sometimes it means letting go of your own inner chatter. Sometimes we feel we screwed up somewhere and we worry about it and we think about it and we imagine it and we feel embarrassed about it and we wish we could change it. You've got to just snap out of that scenario. Just sort of wipe your slate clean and know that you did whatever you did with a good heart. If you had no intent to do harm, there is no blame. Remember that. There is no blame. And you have to stop blaming yourself. And so if somebody is not happy with something you did and it was not done to harm them in any way, don't accept the blame. And especially don't rag on yourself about something you coulda, woulda, shoulda done. Get those words out of your vocabulary, everyone. And know that we are getting near the time to close. If you do have more questions, and William says, thank you for your beautiful spirit and soul that you share with so many. Blessings be poured. Oh, thank you, William. Thank you so much. You know, we do need encouragement now and then. And I'm so glad that Johnny and William joined me today. And I know that a lot of people listen to the shows on other channels like iHeartRadio. And I have people that tell me they are so uplifted by it that they listen to it while they're walking. So if you were here today and you were walking, you weren't able to write down what your inner sanctuary looks like. And so when you get home, I hope you sit down in a quiet space and you begin to imagine your inner sanctuary, your kingdom of heaven within you. And that will be your safe place to go to get answers. And believe me, You will get them through your imagination of sight. You will see pictures. You will get it through sound. You'll hear a song in your head, or you'll hear words. Some people are very audio, they can hear words. And then you will get it through the feeling in your gut. You will just know that you know, but you don't know how you know. And those are the ways that your angels can talk to you. So don't hesitate to create this inner sanctuary. If you know anything about Silva method of mind control and are able to take that course, I'm sure it's not as what it used to be, because I did take it again with my second husband, and I know it wasn't as intense, should I say, as it was when I took it the first time. And so, but it's a wonderful course. It teaches you how to use your imagination, how to get to that inner state of peace and harmony. And so come back all the time and visit me and look at the different videos that we have. We have 30 days to happiness. Remember those videos, 30 days of ideas of how to change your mind when you are in an ugly mood and how to make you smile. There's 30 different ways to do that. So do look that up, 30 days to happiness, and allow yourself to play with that. Ideas are things you can play with, and your ideas are what you create in your future. And so I don't know what the time is. I'm going to, we have 3 minutes left and probably less than that. So I'm going to look at it. We're down to time. There we go. God bless all of you. I'll say goodbye for now. Thank you, Johnny, and thank you, William, for coming to visit us. Don't hesitate to contact us if you'd like a private chat. Bye for now.